you doing today? Why my horse won't go forward? Why won't my horse go forward? I get this question quite a bit, so I thought it would be great to chat about that here with you today. So can you imagine just for a second, just have a visualization of you riding a perfect ride with your horse. So you're riding, you have connection, you have a true forward, you have willingness from your horse, and you can see so clearly how you can trot and you can canter in perfect harmony. And your horse is also singing along with you, right? You can feel your horse's thought. You can feel your horse's power and the body underneath you. And you've worked really hard for many years to accomplish this. Now it comes to the part where you want to make more progress, right? You want to reach higher goals than what you already have, right? You want to maybe go to high levels of dressage. You want to maybe be an endurance rider, maybe a trail rider, any other equine pursuit that you want. And you have it all set up, you have a plan, and what happens? Your horse puts the brakes on. Your horse doesn't want to go forward anymore. So here's the thing. We actually want our horses to get lazy or to not go forward. And I'll tell you why in a second. But we just don't want them to do it when we are planning to start reaching our goals, do we? We don't want it at that time in our training. We want it a little bit later. So I'm going to share with you today the steps that we go through to help our students, help their horses, when they find themselves saying to themselves, oh, my horse is so lazy. And if you have right now a question that you have for me about a certain laziness, put a note for me below. So hi, my name is Chris Adderson, and I'm the founder of the For the Horse online riders program called Harmony for the Horse. And if you have a frustration with your horse and you're on live right now, put a note for me below so I can see what you're dealing with and I can weave that into my training today. If you're on the replay, feel free to put your notes in too, because I always come back and chat with you and we can have a discussion about what's going on with your horse.
Keisha Smith says hello.
Oh, and I have my assistant here helping me with comments so I can see some of them because I'm streaming live on some multiple channels here. So hello, great to see you. All right, so, and I have another question too for you. What is it that irritates you most about your horse? Put that as a note for me. What is it that irritates you most about your horse? So let's talk about why we want our horses to get lazy or why we want our horses to not move forward, because that sounds totally opposite for what we want, doesn't it? But we want that because we want communication, right? Horses communicate through movement. And when they're not moving forward, that is communication for you. That is them talking to you. That is telling you you need to listen to something. And that means that you need to listen to yourself and what the horse is saying. Both of you are saying, right? Because movement is life. Everybody needs movement. Movement is survival, especially for horses. And this is such a huge topic, isn't it? I mean, you can go in all sorts of different directions with this topic, but I'd like to stay in one or two specific directions, and that's what we're going to do here today. Connie says, from Rainy, Kansas, I have this sweet little black mare that will just not ride for me. Everyone else, not me. Ah, okay.
Thelma said something here too.
And another comment?
Thelma, it happened once again. I go out towards the trails and she refuses to move forward.
Okay, refusing to move forward out on the trails. Yeah, all of these kinds of things we're going to chat about here today. And really, I want to talk about the term lazy for a second here too, because I don't feel we can classify our horses as lazy, right? If we look at a newborn foal who needs to get up, who needs to move, needs, they have energy, they're not lazy, they need to explore movement because that's life, because that's survival. So horses cannot be classified as lazy, like we can classify humans as lazy, right? Humans can be classified as lazy because of our lifestyles and because of how we have gotten so in a place where we can use artificial means to keep ourselves moving, right? We have ways of doing that horses don't have. So horses cannot be termed as lazy. If you find yourself saying, my horse is so lazy, that's where we need to dig really deep and find out why that's happening and why you're saying that in the first place. All right, so there are many reasons why horses won't move forward. And as I said earlier, I want to just focus on a couple of them, but there's all kinds of reasons. And most of them you probably already know. I'm just going to list them off quickly here. Things like pain, right? Saddle fit, feet, teeth, any kind of physical thing that's stopping your horse from moving forward. You need to rule those things out, right? So you need to make sure that that's not happening with you and your horse. And inside gut issues, right? Parasites or digestion issues, you need to rule those out. We're not going to talk about those today, okay? Those are reasons why horses might not move forward. What we're going to talk about today is what we do in our program to help our students, okay? And so it's not either, I'm not going to talk either also about motivation. That's a total other training, and you can find that other training. You can just scroll down, look back in the group if you're in the group, or look at the videos, the other trainings. I have a video training on motivation, so we're not going to talk about that. All right, so what we're going to talk about is the optimal moving forward. Right? What is the optimal moving forward for you and your horse? And the frustration that comes with that when our horses are not optimally moving forward. And then that's why we start to think they're lazy. Okay? And what it all comes down to is a misunderstanding. And I'm going to describe that here. So if you're just jumping on live, let me know where you're coming from and let me know what bugs you most about your horse as a note for me below. So we have a student actually in our program who I wanted to tell you about. She's working really hard with her horse, and she's worked for several years with her horse very hard on the things that she's wanting to do. Things appeared to be going pretty well, right? And what she really wanted to do was get to high levels of classical dressage. So she had the goals of doing this, but she didn't want to do it in a way that would destroy her partnership with her horse, right? She wanted a horse who was willing to go forward with her, right? And she knew that her horse had a really smooth, fun trot. And so she was constantly searching for that. She knew that her horse had that. And so what she did was she explored things like body work, right? And this, right, you can definitely do that. It definitely helps. Things like saddle fit, all kinds of different training methods, right? From one extreme to the other. She explored all of this. Hoof pain. So she ruled out a lot of things. And still, her horse had the brakes on, right? Everything felt way too hard, harder than it should have felt for some movement that she was looking for. And so it wasn't fulfilling for her. It obviously wasn't fulfilling for her horse. And she started to feel a lack of inspiration, right? A lack of inspiration with going out to her horse. And she also felt that her horse wasn't inspired with her. So what happened then was that she became mad, and her anger sometimes would get the better of her. And then what happened is she became deeply sad. She was very sad that her horse didn't want to be with her, and she didn't know why. And her horse didn't want to move forward with her and do what she wanted to do. So what we found in our program was the thing that was holding her back. The thing that was holding her back from having her willing partner, and where she wanted to feel like she was being an inspiration for her horse, was that she was defending, right? She wanted desperately to learn, and she'd already learned a tremendous amount of stuff, but she was defensive, and her horse felt that defensiveness. And that defensive block showed up in her movement as tight hips or whatever. I mean, there was all kinds of ways that it showed up in her movement, in her riding, and it showed up in her mindset. So it was no wonder why her horse would not move forward. And this had been happening over a long period of time. It wasn't that she just went out one day and her horse wouldn't move forward. If that happens to you, I would say that could be, if you change the saddle, it could be a saddle fit issue or an abscess or something with the feet or some kind of other pain. But this was something that was happening over several days, weeks, years even, until her horse finally did not move forward. So we helped her to clear out those blocks, clear out those deepest fears that she had. And what those fears did was led to a misunderstanding, which is what I mentioned earlier, right? And now she has the confidence to move forward with her horse, right? And her horse has the confidence to move forward because the rider no longer has the mental, emotional blocks, and the rider no longer has the physical blocks relating to those mental and emotional blocks. So we help them to make a huge shift in their riding, in confidence, in understanding, and in clarity. And one of my favorite sayings is, either you're open to learning or you're defending something. Either you're open to learning or you're defending something. So, but how do you know if you're defending something? Okay, if you don't know what it is you're defending, how can you be truly open to learning? And that's where the problem arises. That's where it happens, is because people don't know what they are defending. They just don't have an idea or an inkling of what it is. So what we do in our program is we start with the rider, and we sort out where it is that the rider is defending something, is holding something, is blocking something. What is it that's holding them back specifically, uniquely to them? And then we go to the horse, right? And we find out what it is that the horse is dealing with. And a lot of the times there's a huge physical component with the horse, right? And so we have to look at, first of all, at the physical components with our horse. And I have a horse here now who's actually 32, who is a classic example of what you might call as lazy. In fact, well, how many years ago would that be? That would be 25 years ago. Everybody called that horse lazy. And I can remember saying, why does this horse not want to move forward? She just absolutely would not want to move forward. And that's what led me on the path of discovery, the path of learning. And this is why I said at the beginning, we want our horses to not move, because we want communication and we want a conversation. That is, if you get that to that point where your horse is not moving forward, that means you've got to look really seriously about what you're doing with your horse, right? That's the only way they have to communicate with you, is through their movement. And if they're not moving, and if movement is life and movement is survival for a horse, then that means there's something pretty critical that you need to look at, doesn't it? Let me know if this makes sense to you. Put a note for me below if this makes sense to you. So we look at the rider first, and then we look at the horse. And every horse naturally has different levels of forward that are unique to them. So some horses are more forward, some horses are less forward, right? That's part of their character. And now, referring back to Holly, this horse that I was telling you about, she was 5 years old at the time when she would not move forward. But at that time, she had already gathered a whole lot of physical blocks. And this was before I got her. She was actually a ranch horse, and she had those, you know, the white marks on her back where the saddle had made saddle sores, and the, you know, her skin she'd gotten raw there, and the hair had grown back white. Connie says, yes, this makes sense. Great. So with Holly, she had already in her body had a huge amount of physical blocks happening. So this was dysfunction, and this was pain on a physical state, in her physical state, on that level. And answers were not readily available back then, right? I can remember having a friend come over and show me what I needed to do with that horse. It was actually my daughter's horse. Well, that didn't feel good to me, and I wasn't going to do that. And what that was obedience, and obedience to the aids. That did not work, and it will not work. Okay, so pushing more, upping the phases, adding more does not work when there is a physical dysfunction and pain there. So this is what we do in our program as well. If you get a chance to work with us, we go deep into your horse's physical state and mental and emotional state, because they are linked. But physically, we start with what we call the strategic warm-up. And we're looking for quality movement, right? We're looking for those places where your horse has blockages. Because if there's a block there, there's probably pain, right? And so we look for quality movement by doing this process. And we use the whole body, not just parts, but we always are looking at the whole body. And we're looking to work towards balance. That's our end result. Because probably your horses are not balanced if they're not moving forward. But this is, and I have to say, right, getting back to where we look at the rider and that example of the student who was not able to get her horse to move forward because she had a mental block there. She was not being with her horse. She was doing to her horse. There's a certain amount of letting go that you have to do with your horse. You have to let go to allow the horse to do what the horse knows how to do, which is to move. If we get into that making it happen, and we do that for long enough, then it'll come to the point where your horse just will not move forward. And they're just talking to you, and they're telling you. So your job is to find out why. Why is the horse not moving forward? Is it because I am holding something back myself? Is it because I'm not being a good guide? Is it because I'm not leading my horse? I'm not saying we don't have boundaries and we don't keep ourselves safe. I'm saying that, yes, we do have boundaries, and sometimes we do have to get very assertive, very clear in our boundaries for safety reasons. But what I'm saying is that when the horse does not move forward, it's time for us to really listen up on all levels, okay? And so in our program, we work with the horse physically, and we find out where those blockages are physically, so that then we can get to the place where we have flow in the movement, right? That's what we all want. We want flow when we ride, don't we? Right? We want to get to that place where we can imagine, where we're in connection, and we have true forward, and we have willingness from our horse. So we have the partnership that we're looking for. And that's the third part of what we do, is we put the two together. So we have the rider and we have the horse, and we've cleared the fears, we've cleared the traumas, we've cleared the blocks on a mental, emotional, and physical level. So now we can look at it all as a unit and as a whole. So does that make sense to you? Do you have any questions? I can take a few questions. Feel free to put notes for me below if you have something specific that you want to answer. And I'll go back and get... Right. Okay, yeah. Out towards the trails. So why is it that your horse is not moving forward out towards the trail, right? That's your job, is to figure out. After you go to the place where you know that you're not making excuses, okay? If you find you're still making excuses, oh, this horse is lazy, oh, this horse is bad, oh, the horse is having a temper tantrum, or whatever it is, that you're then turning it over to the horse in a blaming kind of way, that will stop you from making any progress at all going forward. Those things have to be cleared out so that you know that you are ready to learn, you're open to receive communication from your horse, and you're ready to give feedback, and you're ready to accept and allow and let go. Okay, so going out to the trail, if you're sure that you're not holding something back, you're not fearful about going out to the trail, you don't have a hidden agenda, that you are listening 100% to your horse has no pain issues, your horse is mentally and emotionally there, right? Maybe they just don't want to go out onto the trail because they're all alone and there's no other horses there, right? Whatever. That's your job, is to figure out. And to be able to figure that out, you need to have cleared yourself, so that's not excuses anymore. Okay? And Connie said, I have a black mare, she'll ride for everyone else but not me. Okay, that's a classic example of what I'm talking about, Connie, here, right? There's something within you, and it could be a mental state that you don't even know is there, right? And that gets back to, you know, you're either wanting to learn or you're wanting to defend yourself. Are you defending something? Maybe you don't even know what you're defending, and that's what we do in our program, is to help you to figure out deeply, what is it that I'm defending? So what is it that you're defending in yourself, Connie, that is different from other people riding your horse? Where is that held in your body? How are you moving different from other people riding your horse? Okay, so once we put the rider and we put the horse together, and we're clear that we're open and we're receptive and we're moving forward now in our goals, right? Our horse will be ready for us because we've done all the work beforehand. We've done all the preparation beforehand. Then we can say, okay, I am going to ride this dressage test, or I am going to do this, or whatever your equine goal is. the horse will be there for you because you've done all this deep work that's necessary for you to get your goals, even if it's just a trail ride. And some people say to me, I just want to go on a trail ride. Just going on a trail ride requires a lot of self-growth, doesn't it, right? Because horses teach us that, right? If we're open to it. So we're either open to learning or we're defending ourselves. Which one is you? Are you open to learning or are you defending something? And now when we put the horse and rider together and we have our goal and our horse is ready and we're ready to go for our goal and ramp up the training, it'll be there. It'll all be there, right? Where you can feel your thoughts in your horse and you can feel the power, and that's controlled power, right? It's power that's, you can change the power with 2 fingers or just with a tiny body movement or a tiny use. You can change all that power. The rhythm and the possibility is there for you. And the willingness of this being, this horse, who wants to be with you and do what you, and it feels good to them. There's no pain, there's no misunderstandings anymore. And it'll be there for both of you.
It says it's on. It says it's on.
The internet says it's on, but it's not on.
Oh, there it's back.